Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast. My name is Wilson Horrell and my co-host is Vaughn Rawls. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com or on Twitter and Instagram at LiftRunLong, or feel free to email me directly at wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. The mission of LHRL is simply this: to inspire and be inspired. Tune in every week as we speak with some of the world's most interesting people. Enjoy the show and find your bliss. All right, LHRL podcast, episode number 24. Vaughn, have you started drinking as well?
Not yet, but I wish I'd have known. So I probably should have.
Yeah, we should have been more prepared for this. All right, we have with us Elijah Hassertt. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Hassertt.
Hassertt. Elijah, tell us about yourself.
I do strongman, powerlifting, running. I work at a specialty running store, and I coach a few hours a week.
What part of the country are you in?
Tacoma, Washington, until the end of this year.
Yeah, you're going to have a baby, right?
Yes, I'm expecting. My girlfriend is expecting in January, and we're going to be moving down to Oklahoma.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is going to be one genetically fit baby.
Well, we already got a dumbbell for him at the baby shower, so.
You're going to need a few of them, that's for sure. Didn't your girlfriend just get finished running a 50-mile race?
Yeah, she did a 50-mile race, and a few months before that, she did a Strongwoman competition, and she got her 315 deadlift.
Man, you're an intriguing character, to say the least. How'd you grow up? Did you grow up with all this weightlifting and primal behavior?
Sort of. So both my parents were overweight for most of my childhood, but then after my parents divorced, my mom started running. She did some half marathons, and I joined her. My freshman year of high school, I did a half marathon, and then after that, I got into cross country and track on my own.
Were you a big guy in high school?
No. I graduated high school at 135 pounds.
And then what did you do after high school?
I came back to Washington. I did some running, whatnot, was just working at a sporting goods store for a bit, and slowly just up doing stuff. I found Lift Heavy Run Long, decided I wanted to be strong and start running, so I did my first 50K challenge out in Eastern Washington and worked to my 400-pound deadlift.
That's the first place that I originally saw you, was on the Lift Heavy Run Long 50-mile 400-pound deadlift club, and that's when I was on the outside looking in, and I just couldn't believe those numbers. I couldn't believe that anybody could lift that kind of weight and run that kind of distance. At what point did you become intrigued? When did you find Lift Heavy Run Long and say, this is something that I'm going to do?
Say it was a couple years ago. I'm not sure exactly when, but it was a few years ago, and that was kind of my motivation, was to get that. I didn't have a 400-pound deadlift, and the farthest I'd run was half a marathon.
Yeah, he's been around for quite a while. One of the first people that came along and really started working on getting into that club and actually did it, which is pretty super impressive, and made me really proud.
In high school and all that, and all of us, I remember I was the only kid on my team who could do a single pull-up. Just having somebody who's going to start doing 400-pound deadlift and all that while still running seemed kind of crazy to me, so I wanted to do it.
Did you have any idea that you had this sort of strength?
No, I've dabbled in some kettlebell lifting in high school. Didn't really do much of anything. It wasn't until after I'd run a few ultras that I got into powerlifting.
Walk me through how you got into the weight room. What encouraged you to get in there, and who did you contact, and who did you follow?
Well, after I came back from the Army, I had been running, doing 10 miles a day pretty easily. I weighed 135 pounds again. I contacted Morgan Blackmore from Tacoma Strength, a local CrossFit, and I just ran into there and said, do you think CrossFit's going to help me be a better runner? And he gave me the basic spiel, maybe not right away, but eventually I think it'll help you. And so I just started taking basic CrossFit classes, but then I decided I wanted to be a CrossFit competitor So I asked him what I should do, and he put me on the 20 rep squat program, said I need to add a little size because I was kind of small. And so after that, I just started researching more and more strength training. I started listening to the Barbell Shrugged podcast. That's what kind of got me venturing towards lift heavy, run long, found Von Rawls, and started working towards getting bigger and bigger. Eventually got over 200 pounds, and then I've been flip-flopping ever since, but down to 150 for running, up to 200 for lifting.
I've noticed that you're able to do that you're capable of, you'll beef up and get 250 pounds or whatever it is, and then just kind of decide, hey, man, I want to go back down to and compete at 190 or whatever it is. Are you able to just go whatever direction you want weight-wise? Is that the kind of discipline that you have?
Yeah, I think that's it. Or just something weird in my head. I can just switch, and I'm very specific. And I think one of the things that kind of draws me to heavy lifting and ultra running is I'm pretty extreme in anything I do. So when I'm cutting, I go strict vegan, like raw plants, eat very little calories, and run a lot. And I'll get down 50 pounds, 60 pounds within 2 months. When I go up, I've been following Lift Big, Eat Big here in Seattle, and then I just eat.
You'll just eat all the meat and then you'll go strict vegan?
Yeah. So complete opposites, Jekyll and Hyde.
Does that work pretty well for you? You hear there's so many opinions out there, and everybody's got one, and I don't like any of them really. But do you find that your energy is equally as fine as a vegan as it is eating meat?
It's different. So I feel with meat, I feel like I can be stronger. I have no idea why that is. I'm not a scientist, so maybe it's the higher testosterone or something like that. I can lift more weight when I'm eating meat, so that's why I do it that way. But when I'm running, I actually feel slower if I'm eating meat, cholesterol or something like that. When I'm running, I just prefer not to have it. I go almost, you could even say like fruitarian, like I just eat melons all day.
How opinionated are you in regards to, what's right for each individual and what you should be doing, what you need to be doing, and what you have to do to get here and there? Are you just sort of a go out and get it kind of guy, or you have your ways of doing things and that's the way things should be?
Well, I think the more you know that you don't know, and you kind of nailed it on the head. Everybody's different. And for me to say, to run, you have to be vegan because that's the best. I could give you examples of top vegan runners back with examples of top paleo runners. Timothy Olson, his diet, and he's one of the top ultra runners right now. But then you have other vegan runners or vegetarian runners like Sage Canaday, Scott Jurek, all these others. It's finding what works for you. High school, that vegan worked for me when I was running. I was vegan mostly all through high school because my mother and stepfather were, and just worked for me.
Well, you're a unique individual, and you've had success in so many different areas, which I guess by default probably makes you a target for opinionated people. A friend of ours, Alex Viata, had pointed out that nobody likes a winner. So I'm sure that you get a lot of opinions and advice and information thrown your way. Do you have any problems listening or not listening to that?
Sometimes I do. I'd like to say that I'm always super compassionate and loving and, let everybody go their own which way, but I get into some stupid arguments sometimes. Like I said, you always realize what you don't know, but sometimes you learn that a little slower than you should. So I'll butt heads with people and realize that it's just their way of doing things and mine's a little different.
I didn't realize that you cut so much weight when you were running. Have you ever done any kind of test to see like when you have a whole lot of weight on versus running 50 pounds lighter?
I think I kind of do that both sides a little bit. I think this time, so I'm cutting right now, I'm doing it a little bit more specifically side by side with the whole lift heavy run long thing. I have a 12-hour race in a couple weeks, the Carkeek in Seattle. It's a really hilly 12-hour. And then I'm competing in a USAPL meet in December, and I'm going to be about 163 for that. So I would have cut about 50 pounds. Okay. So we'll see how doing both side by side, how well I can do. But I always know, and I've seen you post before, I'll do before I do an ultra, the week of my taper, I'll just run and see how much I can deadlift, make sure I can still hit that 400 pounds. And when I'm bigger, yeah, I'll go out for a run or something, but it sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
I can attest to that.
Yeah, exactly.
You said you initially wanted to get into CrossFit competitions. Did you ever do any kind of CrossFit style competitions at all like that?
I did one sort of competition. It wasn't like a real serious one. It was more of like an expo competition at Tacoma Dome with Tacoma Strength.
And then kind of just really like got into powerlifting instead of really pursuing that CrossFit competition thing.
Yeah, and I've only actually done 2 powerlifting meets. I've done 4 strongman shows. So strongman kind of was what I gravitated towards. I teach a strongman class at my gym, Grit City. Fitness and Performance is where I'm at right now. And just similar to ultra running, just kind of the real world feel of strongman, what I got gravitated towards, picking up logs and stones and, the manhood test origins of all that crazy stuff.
Yeah. Did that just kind of appeal to you more? And so that's where you ended up, or was there more to it getting into that strongman?
Couple of things. Another site that I mentioned previously that I've been following for a while is Lift Big, Eat Big, and based out of Seattle where I'm at. And I just been following Brandon, the guy who runs that, for a while. And so he's a big strongman. So I had that influence, and then I just ended up liking it more. Powerlifting is fun. I'm still doing it. This is of strongman, not just how much weight you can lift, but how many times can you lift it, but still a little heavier.
That strongman appeals to me because that's just an all-around kind of burly guy,
Exactly.
get it done feel. I guess my question is, it seems like you just kind of change addictions or change directions for what direction you want to go. And I'm trying to word this without trying to sound like I'm trying to be a philosopher or something, but does your mood change based on what you're pursuing, or do you change what you're pursuing based on your mood? Do you just wake up one day and say, man, I'm going to cut weight and get down to 165, 175 pounds and run 50 miles? Or you wake up the next day and say, you know what? I think I'm going to throw a bunch of logs and shit over my head and bulk up to 220.
Yeah, I think it can be, there's a fleeting moment. I all of a sudden have an idea in my head. I joke around with my girlfriend that I'm kind of like Tigger. I just jump and go do something. I'll be screwing around on my phone at work and be like, oh, there's a 100-miler over here. Maybe I'll train for that. Or I found a powerlifting meet. Oh, I'm going to start bulking right now. So it is off a whim. It can be, just wild hair in my ass, and I'll go.
Man, you have to know how much I love that and admire that. I think that's the only way to do it.
Do you coach yourself, or is it literally just do whatever I want to do?
Little of both. So kind of with my personality, I'll jump all over the place. So consistently when I decide I want to be coached, I've been coached by Matt Falk with Falk Strength and Conditioning, based out of Bellevue here in Washington. And so I might come to him and say, I want a few months of programming for a new meet or something. That's when I'm bulking. So that's for strongman or powerlifting that I work with him. I, since high school, haven't had any running coach. Still at certain points while my strongman, I'm self-coached. So it's a little bit of both for the most part.
Have you ever had any problems with injury?
I haven't had anything serious. I mean, I'll get plantar fasciitis, shin splints, all the basic aches and pains. But I felt I've been pretty smart to anytime something's bugging me a little too much, I just stop. And that's kind of the benefit of doing multiple sports too. I remember last year I was having some foot pain and I really couldn't pinpoint it. So I just decided I was going to start bulking, competing strongman for a bit, and it healed up, and just bounce back and forth.
So one of your ways of avoiding injuries is just switching sports altogether.
Yeah.
If you're running and something's bothering you with your running, then you'll just go and go full tilt on lifting.
Yes. Yeah. And that's kind of part with my extremist addicted personality. I am 100% on anything that I'm doing. So I know I'm not going to be able to keep running and kind of rehab it. I'm going to end up trying to bang out 10 milers anyways and hurt myself. So it's a lot better for me to just be able to switch gears and say I'm lifting, because then I can lift and not worry about how my foot's feeling.
Tell me about your training schedule. Like, what does your week look like?
Pretty much anytime I can move, I move. I think, I'll be doing 2 days. I'm running. I'm doing some CrossFit workouts or like hurricanes here and there. But I'm lifting 3 times a week now still to maintain my powerlifting numbers, because I have the meet, and that's something I haven't done before. Usually when I'm cutting, it's straight up cutting. So anything heavier than like a 70-pound kettlebell, I'm not touching.
What is a hurricane?
So one of my certifications is training for warriors with Martin Rooney, and it's an MMA-based conditioning protocol. You do 3 rounds of 3 different exercises 3 times. So ends up being 9 total sets, but it's just based off of MMA conditioning.
Tell me about Never Defeated Athletics. What is that?
Greatest coaching company known to man. My
That's
company.
what I hear.
So yeah, I do in-person training, personal training. I do online programming, and all of the above. I had played around with names back and forth for years. I named my company about 3 different times. And then I finally had an epiphany. I have a tattoo on my chest that says Never Defeated. And I got that back when I was in training for the Army, just because that's always been my mentality. Even if I lose, even if I fail, I'm still not going to be defeated, because I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to not accept defeat. So Never Defeated, that's the philosophy. We just do, as I do, all sorts of stuff. I have running clients, I have weight loss clients, I have strongman clients, and working on growing that.
What made you decide to start that company?
Just through my journey with CrossFit, I initially got my CrossFit cert and the CrossFit gymnastics cert, and I just really enjoy coaching, helping people improve themselves and seeing the difference. And so I knew that my life, I wanted to be involved in athletics in some sort of way. I was cross-country captain in high school. I just like leading people, and that's what I want to do with my life.
And you said you coach people both in person and you can do that remotely, correct?
Yes, yeah. So remote programming, do phone calls, email, however set up.
Can you coach someone to strongman?
Oh yeah, definitely. You looking to do a meet?
I don't think I'm anywhere near that level, but I am interested in the strongman. I think that's a neat deal.
Uh-huh.
But I don't possess that kind of power, man. I don't have that for my size. I don't have the strength that other people my size have. And the people that I see doing that just have that raw ass grown man power.
Oh, I think you'll get there. Definitely. And there's all sorts of competitions that are different levels of strength. There's specifically ones that are made for novice, and there's novice divisions. I think you could definitely do it if you want to get out there.
So there is a place for anybody in there. You don't have to be a big ass lumberjack to go in there and not look like an idiot.
No, it would just be like any other competition. You can figure out which one's good for you. It is a little different because unlike powerlifting or Olympic lifting, there's set weights, kind of like CrossFit, but there are certain divisions, like there's beginner divisions and whatnot, and there's a lot of
so they kind of just like scaled workouts.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's in strongman they have the novice division, and a lot of contests have that, and you can just compete in the novice division until you win, and once you win, then you have to compete in the normal divisions.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, how convenient? I guess not convenient, but how far do you have to travel for these strongman competitions? I don't think I've ever seen one come up around here, but then again, I haven't, been out looking for one.
Yeah, exactly. It depends on your region. It depends on where you're at. You can go look online. There's NAS Strongman. That's who I compete with. And there's also USS Strongman for us guys in the United States. And Yeah, they're all over Washington. I'm pretty lucky. There's contests all over. I haven't had to really travel. I did one in Oklahoma because my girlfriend has family there. And as I mentioned, I'll be heading down there. So I know Brian Barrett, he puts on a lot of competitions in Oklahoma and Texas. That's as far as I know, closest to you. But
what does a strongman program look like? So like if somebody like Wilson, who has been doing CrossFit for like 3 years, decides he doesn't really know anything about strongman, but knows that he wants to go learn to compete. Like what, as a coach, like what do you do for him from the start?
Before you go any further, I can already tell that Vaughn's trying to rope me into this stuff, and he knows I'll bite. So this is unfair.
Yeah, so obviously it depends slightly on the individual. We figure out, what their conditioning is, where you're lacking, strength is where you're lacking. That's the nice thing about strongman. As I mentioned, athleticism, it's kind of like CrossFit. You have so many different and then to the individual contest, you often will train for those implements because unlike CrossFit, you usually know exactly what the events are going to be beforehand.
Okay.
So if there's an event with stones, we're going to be training stones. And for an absolute beginner, even if you don't have one, then the number one thing would be trying to get as much time on as many implements as possible.
Did you say that in strongman you do not know what the competition is going to be?
Usually you do know. Sometimes there will be a mystery event or someone's just like to be completely blank now. But for the most part, I've yet to train for a contest where I didn't know all of the events. And you just have and even with that, you can usually guess systematically what there's going to be. There's usually a press, some sort of deadlift, some sort of carry. Stones are almost always in a contest. So you can create a basic template that will work for most contests as well.
So we just need to make some stones, Wilson.
Exactly.
And you're ready to go.
I think I need to grow some stones before I do anything, and then kind of ease myself that direction. But I don't think Elijah is going to appreciate my easing into anything. If I tell Elijah I just want to think about it and then I'll get back to you, then he's going to punch me in the forehead through the computer. He's going to break his beer bottle over my head via.
Sorry, I'll just email and text you every other day. So when we're doing this, when we going?
I like the sound of it. I can be swayed.
Did you make your stones yet?
I've got little pieces of gravel out there. I'll start taping them together.
Start small, build up.
If you could only do one, if you had to do running, CrossFit, or strongman forever, what's your favorite?
Oh, see, I've thought about that question because I remember you asking Alex Viata that one. I really liked his answer that, strength is for the ego and running is for the mind. And I think I'm pretty much in the same capacity. And I think that specifically with ultra running and mountain running, I'm definitely not a roadie. I hate running on the road. I'd probably stick similar to what he said, and I'd do the mountain running. And just because I see mountain running is a little bit more versatile too. I've been in places in Hawaii where you have ropes that you have to help climb up the trail. There's scrambling involved. So I think of all of them, mountain running can probably be the most versatile.
I feel like you get a lot of mental help out of that too. Like it's kind of therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Well.
And, just because of how extreme I am, my diet's a little nicer, I believe slightly healthier when I'm running. I'm not doing 3 Big Macs at a time. So I think if I were to pick one, I'd probably pick the running because that will probably help me live to 100 versus 55.
Right. Now, did I hear correctly that you do not have a driver's license and that you rode your bike or ran everywhere?
Yep, that is accurate. Yeah, I run everywhere. I'll run 8 miles to work, 8 miles back. I'll bike to the gym, all of that.
That is like the primal caveman hippie. That is, man, that's wicked. That's totally bad. That explains a lot. That explains the difference in you and I.
Well, what is what is it? Do you have like a daily routine
Yeah,
every
pretty
day?
much.
Like what does the day look like for you?
Well, most days I'll wake up at about 6 a.m., get ready, get my coffee, head out to either the gym or I'll go to work. My girlfriend parks in Puyallup and takes the train up to Seattle. She works in a hospital up there. And so I'll either hit the gym for 2 hours or I'll go run for 2 hours. And then I'll open my store, South Sound Running, at 10 a.m., work for 9 hours, and then go to the gym, coach a client or two, come back, eat dinner, shower, go to sleep. And that's
When you say come back, you mean run back?
Depending. So if I can, if I have time, I'll run back. If not, I'll just hitch ride with my girlfriend.
So if you run 8 miles to work in the morning and have a shitty day, then you're stuck running back 8 miles back, whether you like it or not.
Well, yeah, but I think when I have a shitty day, that's the day I want to run back more.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. That's incredible. How much of your fitness and success do you attribute to just that variable?
Well, I think it's a big one. Obvious point is just getting in good miles. But then, like you mentioned, partially just the mental toughness. I have to make sure, in the morning, no matter how I'm feeling, I'm getting up, I'm running 8 miles. After work, no matter how busy it was, how much I was running around, I have to put my running shoes on and run 8 miles. And I work in a valley, so I run downhill to work, and I run uphill home. So I get the harder part at the end of the day.
That's got to help in a lot of different arenas. I sling fertilizer for a living, and when I'm not slinging fertilizer, I sweep industrial parking lots. So I've got a 15-pound blower on my back for miles at a time, and I think that just time on my feet helps tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
And just mental toughness and time on my feet is the only thing I can attribute any running success to.
Oh, absolutely. And I've been doing that. I was working at a sporting goods store, Big Five, previously, and I just thought about that so much, how much I'm running up and down ladders. All that is still part of my fitness. And then now my store is sometimes pretty quiet, but when it is, I've been reading Spartan Up by Joe DeSena, and he mentions just not wasting any time. He'll be in the airport doing burpees. So I think about that, and if I'm a little slow at work, I'm doing laps around the store while reading a book. Just get more time on my feet, get more mileage in.
A guy with your intensity level, I'm sure, could struggle in finding pleasure in what he's doing. I know that when I become too focused on something, then sometimes I miss the boat. And the reason that I'm doing it is to enjoy it. Do you ever have any problems there, or are you pretty laid back in your mindset of just bettering yourself and enjoying what you're doing?
I think a little of both. I definitely struggle with finding fun in things sometimes, but I think I'm pretty good at every once in a while kind of check myself and remind myself, hey, I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not winning any money yet, but I will get, because I'm very particular and I'm very extreme. So I'll trying to hit 100 miles a week or something like that and just beat myself into the ground and realize that I'm kind of losing the fun aspect. And then I'll switch up, do something else maybe, and, just keep it fun.
Do you see a lot of that with your clients?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes we'll have a little philosophical argument or conversation, more so just life is short. If you're always unhappy or searching for the next thing, because we always, especially myself, I'm performance oriented. So I'm thinking, crap, I'm not running a 6-minute mile right now, but, I forget that a month ago I was running a 7-minute mile. So that's definitely something I think it's really important to, that's, I think, a good part of CrossFit is having like the benchmark workouts. And I've done that with my clients all the time. Just remind them like, hey, you remember the last time you did this? You're doing great. Don't worry about it. We're having fun.
Are you a pretty happy guy overall? Like your disposition, is it more on the intense side, or do you enjoy life pretty well?
Like I said, I'm pretty back and forth. I like to think that I'm happy all the time, but Doesn't always happen that way. I'll be pretty intense. So I think whatever I'm doing, I'm intense. So I'm either really happy, really mad, really upset, but overall, I'm a happy guy.
Well, we discuss on here a lot, and I'm sure that you're expecting this to come. We talk about finding your bliss. And do you feel like that you're living your passion?
Absolutely. I definitely feel I'm working towards it more than have achieved what I'm going for. But yeah, I'm definitely in the right field. I've been working athletics, and that's all I'm working. I'm working at a sporting goods store or running store. It's not like
where do you want
to work at McDonald's.
Where do you want to be?
Oh, my goal is actually to open my own store. So I want to open a specialty store that sells not just running equipment like the one I'm working in now, but also general sporting goods, weightlifting shoes, belts, different things. A lot of people, at least in this area, there's not a store like that. And so everything's online. You have to go online, buy weightlifting shoes and belts and whatnot. So I think it'd be nice to have somewhere you can go, you can get fitted, do gait analysis, do all these expert things to get you in the right equipment. And so that's my end goal, is to open a store.
He's going to open a store that sells like big ass logs and rocks and track cleats and lions and rattlesnakes and shit like that.
It might work.
It's good. Yeah, I think it would be like the Home Depot of Strongman. I would shop there.
Working at this current running store, it's really good. We're really specialized. We have highly trained staff. But previously, I've worked in a sporting goods store, and myself included, nobody knew what they were talking about. There was no training. And so I just want to create an environment where people know what they're talking about, and we can sell more of a sporting goods oriented market, but help people get what they need. And
what's the name of the place
through
that you're working now?
South Sound Running. It's a smaller business. There's 4 total stores in the Washington area.
What do you have coming up in terms of competitions and whatnot?
So I have 4 that are on my calendar right now. So at the end of this month, I have the Carkeek 12-hour race. And so we run a 2-mile loop up in Seattle on trail. And there's a lot of vertical in that. It's listed as one of the toughest 12-hour races. And so I'm going to run that. It's a couple days before Halloween. So I'm going to dress up like Jason Voorhees and run around the woods.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then after that, December 10th, I have the USAPL Holiday Classic. And I'll be competing in that, hoping to qualify for nationals in the 163-pound division. Last year, I qualified for nationals at the same meet in the 205-pound division. So within my craziness, I thought it would be fun to qualify for nationals in 2 completely different weight classes back-to-back years.
And that's powerlifting, right?
Yeah.
USPL, is that United States Powerlifting?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And so in a powerlifting meet, can you, just for people that don't know, explain how does a meet like that work?
So you have 3 attempts at 3 different lifts. And it's all for a 1-rep max. So you start with the back squat, do 3 attempts at that, going for a max. Then you do bench press and then deadlift. So you do 9 total judged lifts throughout a day. So the goal is to get the biggest combined total. So your heaviest squat, heaviest bench, and heaviest deadlift is your score.
And tell me again when that is?
December 10th.
You've had some success in the strongman competitions. And I know just recently, didn't you move up intentionally to the heavyweight and competed at like 212 pounds, I think it was?
So there's a meet. I did a local meet at Dungeon Fitness, and that one I moved up to the 231-pound and over class, even though I only weighed in about 196 for that, and that was just because the weights looked simple enough, and so I went after that, and I got second place at that meet, and then after that I did a meet at the Cascade Classic with Lift Big Eat Big. And that one I competed in the 231 class, even with shoes, hoodie, hat, everything on, I weighed about 212. That one I didn't do competitively at, but there was a world champion in my weight class, Patrick Estelli. It was just a really heavy but really fun meet.
Well, that's pretty awesome, man. I told you we wouldn't keep you all day long. I know that you have miles to run and trees to cut down and beer to drink and ass to kick. But I really want to thank you for your time. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate and enjoy keeping up with you and watching your style, just the way that you carry yourself and the way that you make it all look like it's just a lot of fun, and that it doesn't have to be too structured and you don't have to figure out what's the most precise way. Just get out there and do it, man.
Well,
so
thank you.
My hat's off to you, and I appreciate you.
Yeah. So where do we find Never Defeated Athletics?
Right now, you can just go neverdefeatedathletics.com and pull up my webpage. I have my email, all my information there. You can check out some videos. I've been posting some articles recently as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for, I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I really appreciate you following us for all these years.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun.
It's awesome.
Stay in touch with us, Elijah, and congratulations on fatherhood.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy.
See ya.
See you later.